Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this Monday night Niall Fraser show. And what a day it is! The Doom Cycle has taken a day off. The Doom Cycle has taken a day off. So it has. I'm in such a glorious mood for the show tonight. I've got an absolutely mammoth show lined up for you this evening. We've got Justice Delayed is Justice Denied. We're going to be talking about the Labour councillor Ricky Jones, delayed until August. And of course, Axel Robo Kanama, the choir boy, the quiet choir boy from Wales, the Southport terrorist, was set in court today. We're talking about that. We're going to be looking at the reactions across the media. We've got a fishy situation here in Scotland, which we'll be talking to a special guest over the phone who has insights into the industry. And of course, today is all about the second dawn of Trump, a historic day. The first non-consecutive presidential term since 1893, if you can believe it. But first, we can't start the show without the intro music. So guys, let's go, share the broadcast. It's going to be fantastic. Let's do this. Oh, welcome to the Niall Fraser Show, everyone. Over 100 viewers before we've even ended the intro music. Yes, we're absolutely smashing it tonight, guys. Please do share the broadcast. We're going to be going quite a long time tonight because there's a lot to dissect. Absolutely a mammoth amount of just pure brilliant lines in this Trump speech later on. Absolutely sublime the speech was. So we'll be going through, and what we'll be doing is we'll be pausing it at moments and we'll be comparing it to the UK, because this is what I can sense that Trump will be the sort of he'll be the program that everybody copies for political sort of aspirations right across the West. He is the model that the UK, and I'm sure Reform will go right down. And drill, baby, drill, the phrase that he said, that was mentioned at the Reform conference. That is not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. But let's get into our first story of today. And I've deemed it justice delayed. It's justice denied. And, let's bring up what I'm talking about first. What am I talking about? Justice delayed, justice denied. Well, let's look at if I can work my computer. Right, this guy here. Let's just bring this up full screen. Ricky Jones. Ricky Jones. The trial has been postponed until August. That's right, August. Labour looks after his own. The blame game. Well, let's listen to what the guy said first, right? So this is almost 10 times worse than any of the people that were accused of being far right by Keir Starmer. This is a clear-cut push for violence. This is a push for death. Let's listen to what he's actually said here.
We've got children and women using those trains pursuing some relatives. They are disgusting, nasty factors, and we need to cut all their throats and get rid of them all.
Cut all their throats and get rid of them all. Now, I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but that seems a lot worse than what some people said on social media that landed them a jail sentence. And again, you get Amazon Prime justice if you're accused of being far right and labelled as far right by Keir Starmer. But if you're if you're in the Labour mechanism, if you're anywhere attached to Labour at all, if you're a friend of Keir Starmer, you get Yodel third class delivery, and it might not even arrive. So this is the sort of the difference ideologically and we're having political policing here in Britain, and this is what we're going to go into. Is that we've got political policing in Britain. Ricky Jones, justice delayed is justice denied. This guy should have been put up there right against all the far right people who were jailed and imprisoned, like the emptied prisons in order to put them in. The emptied prisons of paedophiles, of deranged convicts, and put these people in, the people accused of being far right, and stoking tensions online. So we've got political prisoners here in Britain. And this guy just gets to get away with it. Cut all their throats and get rid of them all. He just gets to get away with it. It's impossible, guys. It's impossible without political policing. And I've got loads of bookmarks today. Absolutely lots of bookmarks. So let's look at this this one here. Axel Rubalcaba. Can somebody say how to pronounce this? I have no idea. But this is what we were portrayed. This is what we were led to believe in the media. A quiet, young Welsh schoolboy who had no terrorist links, wasn't a Islamist, wasn't a Muslim. It was just so happened to do this horrendous thing. And what do we find out? What do we find out? We find out that actually he's got the Al-Qaeda manual. He's the son of someone involved in the Rwandan genocide. The guy was obsessed with death. He was known to the authorities. And in my mind, allowed to perpetrate this act on British soil. Allowed. At least enabled by the authorities by not doing anything. Let's look at other stuff people are saying. I mean, we need to look at the reactions on this. To my mind, tell me if I'm wrong, Keir Starmer needs to resign over this incident. I think I've still got the video in the video bank of him laying a reef, guys. Do you remember? He laid a reef at this Southport attacker and he was heckled. There's another video I'm circulating just a few days ago of him he basically running through, I think it was a train station. You know, it takes, I can't wait to be the leader of my country and make it great again. And yet the guy's getting chased through train stations. Can he walk the streets? What does that tell you? It tells you that he's universally despised, Keir Starmer. Absolutely universally despised. His approval rating was in the low teens. I can imagine after all this dries up, he's going to be in negative approval figures. Right. I mean, let's look at some of the other reactions. Darren Grimes. Never forget how the media covered this and how politicians acted during it. You'd have thought he was a Christian angel. He is a satanic, murderous psychopath with a history of violence, knives, and a fascination of death. My heart breaks for those poor families. And if you remember, let's remove this for a second. This prompted our own rally in Scotland. But against mass immigration. Against mass immigration. And of course, all of them come out, all of them come out saying it's the far right. Don't let the far right divide us. A reactionary counter-protest to people who've got legitimate, more than legitimate concerns about this huge invasion of people. An invasion is the word we want to use. We didn't want to say mass immigration. Because mass immigration is just another politicization of what we should now be calling invasion. And all these people come out against us. And you'll see there Jeanette Findlay. Her speech was horrendous. Patrick Harvey of the Greens. We'll be talking about the Greens later on. And they're just sheer derangement. And you'll see here Humza Yousaf. Look, well done to Glasgow for once again showing up that these opposing races are massively outnumbered. And obviously, he's cherry-picked a video that's a picture, that makes it look like we're nothing, when actually, look at the size of our event. Their side of the square was hugely funded. They've got huge, big stages. They've got they had 3 or 4 different, or at least 3 different political parties there present. SNP, Labour, and the Greens. They've got Palestinian flags almost everywhere. Absolutely. And promoted by all the trade unions. Trade unions asking their members to come along and counter-protest us. What is going on? Anyway, that was our reaction in Scotland to this heinous attack. Let's share this again. Let's see more reactions. And this is it. Peter Lloyd. Peter Lloyd nails it. See, I don't know why it does this. I think they need to, but you'll see it on the side here now. On the side here, Peter Lloyd, MI5 knew he was a risk. Starmer knew he was a risk. Cooper knew he was a risk. The police knew he was a risk. Teachers knew he was a risk. And relatives knew that he was a risk. But they all failed to stop the inevitable. And this is where we are here in Britain, where you've got these types of people just living in our communities, and nobody wants to say anything about it. The police are scared. They're scared to act, to be labelled racist. They're scared to act. They might even have been co-opted by these communities. You know, this slew of diversity hires by the police, this slew of diversity hires in almost every single sector of British life. This is culminated in this allowance, just these things are part and parcel of living in Britain. No, they aren't. And Trump's going to show us the way in America. We'll get to that later on. But, you know, let's look at some more takes here. Let's come back. I mean, this sums it up. Basil the Great. You know, never forget, never forgive and never forget. You don't hate the media enough. And this was the reality that we were portrayed. This is in all the papers, all the news channels, everything. You couldn't get away from it. How could this poor Welsh choir boy? It doesn't look Welsh, and I don't care if he's born in Wales. It doesn't make him Welsh. And then this is a reality. They don't want to show you the reality. And they couldn't wait to cover it up. Remember the police constable, the chief of police, the Met Police, or whatever it was, he came out and he slapped the mic out of somebody's hand because he was clearly frustrated at what he was having to do. And obviously, here comes Keir Starmer with a statement. You'll see it on the right-hand side. Keir Starmer, of all days as well, you couldn't have picked a more news-heavy day than today. It's Trump's inauguration, ladies and gentlemen, 20th of January. They knew it was coming, and yet here comes the court day. And we're all, you know, there's already more information seeping out about this. The guy's changed his plea on the day. I'm led to believe he was going to plead not guilty. And then right before that happens, he's pleading guilty to all charges. So what's happened here? Anyway, let's read what Keir Starmer's saying. And the guy's getting absolutely ratioed to the moon. Ratioed to the moon. Let's see what Keir Starmer's released a statement after it revealed the Southport attacker Axel Ruda-Kubana had been referred to the counter-terrorism prevent program several times before the attack. Several times. Our thoughts are with the families. And of course, he just brings the families up. I mean, he had no regard for the families at the time. You know, it doesn't want, you know, it's all but after the fact. I mean, this family will have to live with this the rest of their life. Not even just the families that live with the bereavement of a child, which is unthinkable. It's the communities in which it harmed. It will have devastated the community for decades. They won't be able to forget what happened. Our thoughts were the families, Baby King, Elsie Dot Stancombe, and Alice De Silva Aguirre, and the families of everyone affected who will be saved the ordeal of a protracted trial. Maybe they wanted to see justice. Maybe they wanted to see this guy face maximum justice. The news that the vile and sick Southport killer will be convicted is welcome. It's also a moment of trauma for the nation, and there are grave questions to answer out as how the state failed in its ultimate duty to protect these young girls. Britain will rightly demand answers. This guy is an absolute joke. He's an absolute joke. He should just resign. Keir Starmer should resign tomorrow. He should. I mean, how dare he say this? How dare he say this? Britain will rightly demand answers. Hold on a minute. It was you that shut it down. It was you that covered it all up. It was you that said you couldn't talk about it on social media. And the far-right rioters, where did they show up? They showed up at a mosque. The guy he turned out to be an Islamist. So they're justified in thinking that. So now it turns these far-right rioters, well, one, it turns them correct, but two, it turns them into political prisoners at this point. So we've got a huge slew of political prisoners. Keir Starmer's political prisoners for hell. At the centre of this horrific event, there's still a family and a community grief that is raw, a pain that not even justice can truly heal. I wonder who wrote this for him, honestly. I'm actually sick to my stomach reading it, because he was the first one to shut it all down. The first one to shut it all down. Absolutely pathetic. Zia Yusuf had something to say, chairman of the Reform Party. Let's look. Zia Yusuf, people paid to discharge a solemn duty to protect the public failing goes so catastrophically it's beyond comprehension. British society is now a powder keg, and it's nobody's fault other than those the British people trusted. Nigel Farage was the only leader brave enough to ask the right questions and was dragged through the mother of all smear campaigns by the media that act as accomplices for the most brutal criminals. Britain is broken. Britain needs reform. I mean, he could have just left that last bit out. Britain's broken. Britain needs reform. It goes without saying, Zia, you don't need to turn that into a political sort of recruiting message. No, it doesn't need it. It doesn't need it, Zia. And that's my only criticism. But really, it doesn't need to be taken in this way. Who else said something? Lee Harris. We'll watch a video. Lee Harris had something to say. And this is, I believe this came out the day before. And we'll be talking about this stupid guy, Bonnie Prince Bob. So let's listen to this.
Accused Keir Starmer. I was a bit worried about one that I posted recently, where I directly accused Keir Starmer of a cover-up and gaslighting the entire nation when he said that he called all the rioters far right.
Yeah.
And there was a clip that I posted. Welcome to follow me on Twitter. It's Addicted to News with a Z. And there's a clip that I posted where Sky News did an investigation into the source of where the kind of organisation, the online organisation of the summer riots. And they found that the majority of it, the overwhelming majority of it, wasn't even coming from the UK. And I was making the point, which I do believe, it's my honest held belief, that Keir Starmer overplayed the calling everyone far right to kind of distract and gaslight from what was really happening, because he knew that suspect did have links to terrorism, in my view. What I find absolutely insane is that Keir Starmer, I just can't believe this is true, but this is what it is true, because Keir Starmer's told us it's true, is that he put actual pressure on our legal system to come down like a ton of bricks on anyone who was responsible or was involved in posting stuff on social media riot related. So he lent on the legal system to do that. People have ended up in prison for years. I still cannot get my head around that. And he was essentially, at the same time he was doing this, he was gaslighting the entire nation and arguably this is prejudicing their trial. So prior to him leaning on the police, because obviously those riots didn't happen immediately, when those riots happened, the first thing he did is he got on he stood up in front of the nation and just told us that everyone was far right and it was the far right, they were responsible. Then he lent on the legal system to put as many people in prison as possible. Now, if that isn't prejudicing those people's trials, I don't know what is. There were some nasty people out there, but there was also a lot of people who were very, very angry and upset, and because of what happened to those beautiful girls in Southport, and for him to stand up and say, to not show any empathy towards that, to not even make the tiniest little effort to understand why that might have been a flashpoint, which it clearly was a flashpoint. And he just so that's why I think this could be hugely significant, potentially, this what we don't know yet that is going to come out possibly in the trial, who knows. But if it turns out that Keir Starmer knew more than he knew, and he was genuinely gaslighting.
He did know.
He did.
There's no doubt about it.
That,
those police officers went to that house and searched his house the same day, right, if not the next day. And what they found was ricin and an Al Qaeda manual.
Yeah.
That definitely goes to the Home Office. So if it goes to the Home Office, it goes to the Prime Minister. So there's no ifs or buts it. They knew. Yvette Cooper knew. Keir Starmer knew. The police knew. They all knew, and they all lied to us. They lied to our face. Keir Starmer went to Southport with a straight face, trying to grieve for those girls, lying to the nation and withholding information like that is absolutely lying.
Remember
There
when
is
he
no
went to
doubt about it.
Southport, again, locals wanted to speak to them. He walked straight past them without even looking at their faces. He went there,
Guilty
laid some
conscience,
flowers,
that's why.
turned around
Well,
and waddled off.
Yeah. So did
No,
that
no
clip.
different to the guy's a coward. No different to the farmers' protest in Wales a couple of days ago, where he ran out the back door.
Right, so you get the point, but I mean, this is the whole thing. Like, he knew about it. He must have known. This guy was in possession of ricin, a very complex. Is it a neurotoxin? Is it a poison? A very complex drug that takes expertise to make. That terrorists use to kill a lot of people. Just a wee speck of it can kill people. And we got comments, guys. Get the comments in. Glenn Jackson, apparently his father had to talk him out of the UK's first high school shooting a week before. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So, I mean, the jury's out for me. Keir Starmer should be resigning over this incident. You know, even just the reaction he's getting when he's walking the streets is incredible. You wouldn't want to be the leader of the country if you can't walk the streets. Don't you think? You know what I mean? You work all your life. You climb the greasy pole to get to power, and this is what he uses it for. This is what Keir Starmer uses the power for, to come down, to censor everything, to jail people who are speaking their mind on social media, to jail people who, through righteous anger, took to the streets. He wants to jail people for that. Absolutely horrendous. Right, so that takes. I mean, please do get the comments on this. I'm sure there'll be more information will leak out about this case. More and more and more. But I mean, the judge has already says it's inevitable he's going to get a life sentence. Of course. But don't you think he should get more than that? Don't you think there is a sentence worse than life that he should be getting? You know, got banned off Twitter for even suggesting it. I think he should be getting that, ladies and gentlemen. Right, we're at 400 viewers already, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to move on to our next segment, a fishy situation. So, for all those tuning in who tuned in last week, you have known that this interview was coming up. But first, let's play the video first. And then we'll get to phoning the man. So here's the video, and we'll talk to the man who posted it.
You should be doing, Paul, is not introducing diseased fish into this log. I fished this log for 50 years, and in 50 years I've never seen a manky fish. All of a sudden, in the last 2 years, this fish farm, Kames Fish Farm, has brought nothing but diseased fish. What are you treating the fish for, Paul? Paul, what are you treating the fish for? It's a simple question. What are you treating the fish for, Paul? Phone the police? Yes! Phone the police. This fella here is going to phone the police. I'm a resident at Loch Charity. Fucking phone off me, you cunt! I will fucking knock the fuck out of you! You fucking tell me again! I will fuck you up, you cunt! Just fuck off! Get to fuck, you fucking arsehole! Look, fuck off! My wife's filming!
Right, a bit of a hectic video. It went from 0 to 1,000. That escalated very quickly. So by way of introduction, before we get him on the phone, he actually appears in a Netflix documentary titled "You Are What You Eat," and it's talking about salmon farming. So let's watch. If you're unaware of just how bizarre, well, not bizarre, how disgusting the salmon farming industry is, you know, and how much an environmental disaster it is. Watch these wee clips. We've got a couple minutes coming up, and then we'll get the man on himself. Just one clip of the disaster. We'll get the second clip. It's only a minute long. Bear with us, guys. But I think you really need to understand and see for yourself just the devastating situation that the salmon farming industry is here in Scotland. It really is at critical levels. And then we'll get the man on the phone. Right, ladies and gentlemen. So, by way of introduction, there's a couple of videos. He did appear quite heavily in the second clip there. His name's Don Staniford. I'm going to get him on the line. Hopefully, he answers.
Hi, Niall.
Hello, Don. You are live on the Niall Fraser Show. We've almost got 500 viewers. So, we've just played the two clips that you featured in and the clip that you posted of the fight at the Loch. I mean, it's not very often you see fights at the Loch, but if you just give a brief description of who you are, what you do, and then we'll go for there.
I'm Don Staniford. I campaign against salmon farms. Salmon farming is a welfare nightmare. It's an environmental pariah.
And has there been? Have you had any political interactions with the politicians here in Scotland?
Yeah, you know, I'm in my 50s, so I used to brief Robin Harper, the first Green MSP in the Scottish Parliament in the late 90s. There was a petition inquiry in the early 2000s, and in 2018 there was another inquiry, and then just on Friday there was a quite damning parliamentary report raising the issue of mass mortalities on salmon farms in Scotland. So, but sadly the SNP, the Liberals, even the Greens are very supportive of salmon farming, and we're trying to do filming inside salmon farms to tell consumers to show the graphic, horrific images inside salmon farms to force a boycott of Scottish salmon.
Has it gotten that bad? We need to boycott Scottish salmon.
Well, I think you could see from that first video where the salmon farmer beats the crap out of a concerned neighbour that they have a hell of a lot to hide. I'm subjected to 3 lawsuits from what I call the Sal Mafia. That's the 3 big multinationals who operate in Scotland now. Scottish Sea Farms, Bakkafrost. They're trying to get injunctions to stop me filming inside farms. But I think it's a case of the camera never lies, unlike salmon farmers. I think you can see and judge with your own eyes how bad it is.
So this altercation that's happened at the Loch, this you reckon this is purely down to them being secretive and not being wanting to film, because surely these guys know they're doing wrong here.
No, they're doing wrong. This guy, the salmon farmer at Keynes Fish Farm, that they have a salmon farm in Loch Lake near Oban. He was clearly pissed off that the concerned neighbour was asking questions about the use of toxic chemicals. In this case, it was formaldehyde, which is carcinogenic. So people have very legitimate concerns with the use of toxic chemicals, mass escapes, lice infestation, the impact on wild fish. I think communities across the west coast of Scotland, the Highlands and Islands are very concerned with the expansion of salmon farming.
And, you know, there was a wee bit at the end of the clip there, the end of the second clip from Netflix, that, you know, it's having a big effect on wild salmon as well. Because surely, I mean, these nets that they're using can't contain all the diseases, surely.
Yeah, salmon farms are like an open sewer. You're discharging waste, you're discharging toxic chemicals, you're discharging pathogens, parasites, infectious diseases. So you're spreading pollution, you're spreading diseases into the wild environment, and wild fish are picking up sea lice, they're picking up infectious diseases. So salmon farming is not a solution to the world's food problem. It's not a solution to the decline in wild fish. It's actually exacerbating our problems.
I mean, I like what you said in the second clip about the wild salmon is the king of fish. I mean, we all grew up with Attenborough, where we follow these fish that travel thousands of miles, right? And do swim up waterfalls, and they are majestic. So when we go to the supermarket and we envisage, this fish that we're buying to be one of those, that's generally not the case. Am I right?
Not now, but when Alex Ferguson, Billy Connolly was working in the Glasgow shipyards, when your grandparents were working on the Clyde, that used to be a majestic wild salmon river. In the factories in the late 1800s, factory workers complained that they were eating wild salmon too much because it was so plentiful. But now we've reached a point where there's no real wild salmon left on the west coast. Wild salmon have been pushed to extinction by salmon farms. So when you go to a supermarket and you see Scottish salmon, it's not Salmo salar, the wild, majestic king of fish. It's Salmo domesticus. We've turned the leper into a leper.
And do we know of any crossovers between any diseases, any sort of illnesses that we can pick up from eating these infected fish that end up on supermarket shelves?
Well, I wouldn't touch Scottish salmon, Scottish farm salmon with a barge pole. There's pathogens, there's listeria, there's a food alert before Christmas from the Food Standards Agency avoiding pregnant women and elderly people because of the risk of listeria contamination. There's all sorts of bacteria. If you look at the disease reports published by the Scottish Government, there's pisci chlamydia, there's pancreas disease, there's heart disease. These fish are sick, and we shouldn't be buying them. They shouldn't be labeled in the supermarket as healthy or responsible. So you can do your bit in the supermarket. Tell your friends and family not to buy Scottish salmon.
I suppose we'll want to move away from the problems, but more towards the solutions. I mean, as you mentioned, I'm guessing it's a phrase that you've coined, the salmon mafia, and this non-responsiveness from the likes of the Greens. So we would expect our politicians, our so-called environmentalist Greens, to be all over this. Why? Is it because they're entrenched with the Sal Mafia? Is it because there's so much money involved in this that it just needs to continue on? I mean, I'm from a wee place in Fife called Cowden Beef, and just around 10 minutes away in Rosyth is this Mowi, MOWI. It's a big fish warehouse. I'm sure that a lot of these salmon end up. So is there just too much money involved in this for it to correct itself?
Yeah, I think if you follow the sal money, you get to these multinationals like Mowi, like Scottish Sea Farms, and the ferrets, Rob Edwards, Billy Briggs, they did a story probably about 5 or 6 years ago where they showed that 99% of what is Scottish or so-called Scottish salmon is actually controlled and owned by foreign corporations, only 6 of them. So when you see Scottish salmon, it's a misnomer, it's an oxymoron. It's actually these predominantly Norwegian companies, Faroese companies as well, profiting at the expense of wild fish and trading on this image, this wild Salmo salar image, the leper image, and getting a premium in the marketplace. And it obviously creates jobs in Scotland, but that's jobs at the expense of lobstermen, of creel fishermen, tourist operators. So it's actually draining the profits out of Scotland.
Oh, it's a really sort of hard topic to talk about. I mean, it's what I'm thinking is the overall like impact it has on a loch, like this loch that we've seen the alteration at. What's the name of this loch?
There's various lochs in the picture, but it's all the same. If you read the news today, the Daily Express, the Daily Record, there's video footage of the Scotsman of mass mortalities at organic sea farms off the Isle of Skye. You've got, because of rising temperatures, you've got proliferation of algal blooms, jellyfish swarms, so you get mass mortalities. Scotland's becoming too hot to farm salmon. It's a welfare nightmare, and millions of fish are dying each year. So we're polluting Scotland's lochs, and the profit is going to line the pockets of Norwegian multinationals and shareholders in Oslo and Bergen, not in Scotland.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Scotland's getting hit twice. I mean, we're taking the environmental impact, and we're not even making the profits from it.
Yeah, and you could could probably say the same with the Scotch whisky industry, with Diageo and the Chinese ownership there. But certainly with wild Atlantic salmon, Scotland sold off the family silver. It's sold off its soul. It's sold off the king of fish. And as I said, back in the olden days, this was an iconic species. And when people think of Scotland, they think of this leaping athlete up a waterfall. But we've turned this Usain Bolt, this majestic, speedy athlete, into a couch potato with cage salmon farming.
I suppose before we sort of wrap it up, is there any areas in Scotland that's still true? That there is still a rich history. I mean, there's a huge rich history of fishing in Scotland. But I mean, is there any sort of pure stretches of rivers, lochs, land in Scotland that isn't impacted by this?
Well, the East Coast rivers, there's no salmon farms on the East Coast. Those rivers, those wild salmon may still be hit, may still be impacted by the lice and the diseases from the farms. But Scotland banned salmon farming on the East Coast. There was a deal done between river owners. That's where the money talked. But so there are the East Coast rivers, the Tweed, the Spey, the Dee. On the West Coast, wild salmon are extinct.
Well, I mean, you clearly know your stuff, my friend. What I would sort of ask you now is, if you were the First Minister of Scotland, and this was your prime concern, which I'm sure it is your prime concern, what would you do to correct this issue?
Wow, you're probably too young to remember Jack McConnell was the First Minister.
Right, no, yeah.
His brother worked on a salmon farm for Maui. The First Minister got given gold cufflinks from Gold Salmon Cufflinks. So I think, and then if you look at the First Minister now at Bute House in Charlotte Square, just a couple of doors down, is the owner of the former owner Bakkafrost. He owns a lot of Charlotte Square. So I would tell the First Minister, just close down the industry. We need to protect Scotland's wild heritage and tell these Norwegian multinationals to fish off.
Well, it's a great answer, my friend, and I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. You've been a wealth of knowledge, and I'm sure a lot of my viewers are now well educated as to avoid this salmon picked up at the supermarkets. If you were to eat fish in the supermarkets, where would you recommend, maybe not even the supermarkets, where would you recommend people buy fish and buy salmon that are sort of uncontaminated by this?
You've just got to avoid salmon, full stop, period. I think lots of people are going vegan. I just want to make a plug for Peter May's new book, The Black Loch. In that book, and this hopefully is a segue into your next item, he says that, that lovely pink colour of the salmon we buy in the supermarket, it's fake, like Donald Trump and his phony tan. So what farm salmon, that they add artificial dye, pink dye, to the flesh of salmon, just like you go to B&Q and you can pick the pink colour for your toilet. You've got this colour chart that you can pick the colour of the salmon.
Wow.
So that's another artificial. This is like a page 3 fake tan fish.
Well, you've sufficiently disgusted me, Don. Once again, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, especially late notice, my friend. So keep up all the amazing work that you do, and hopefully this message gets to the Greens, and they can perhaps take action on this.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Don. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. So that was Don Staniford. And he is heavily featured in this clip. We'll just watch this clip one time. He's the guy, you'll see his name pop up. But if you don't follow him already, I'll see if I can find his handle while I put this video. Right, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, sorry. Of course, we've got the ladies watching. So you can follow Don here at the GAAIA. That's his handle on Twitter. Maybe just type in Don Staniford and you might find him there. But there's his handle at the GAAIA, and a wealth of knowledge on the salmon industry. And if we are to So I take what he's saying very seriously. Avoid salmon at all costs. I can't believe they're putting pink dye in to make it pink. This is, and again, what he's saying, Scotland's getting hit not once but twice. We are taking this huge environmental impact on our lochs, on our rivers, and we're not even seeing the profits from it. It's going to Norway, it's going elsewhere, and we're not seeing the profit from it. And just like everything else in Scotland, it's dominated by this conglomerate, the salmon mafia, he called it, Sal Mafia. And of course, we've got many industries like that in Scotland, where money talks and you can do whatever you want. But 600 viewers, guys, we're going to take a break from the doom cycle for one moment, and we are going to embrace the second dawn of Trump. The second dawn of Trump. This is going to be quite an extensive segment, guys. Please do share the broadcast, get the comments in. Did you know about the salmon farming industry? Did you know how bad it was? That certainly shocked me. And once again, thanks for Don for coming on the show. Right, so today is a historic day, ladies and gentlemen. Our man, ancestral home of Scotland, Donald Trump, is the first person, the second person in history to have a non-consecutive term. The first person since 1893, a guy called Grover Cleveland, had a non-consecutive term as president. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to look back at some of his highlights from the first term in office before we go into what's the new term, because God knows there's a lot to talk about. So let's look at some of his highlights, guys. Please do share the broadcast, get the comments in. Let's do it. The second dawn of Trump. Remember this golden age.
Welcome to the UN, sir. Are you ready? Thank you very much.
Mr. President, you look...
Are you willing to leave the picture go eyes on her? Say it. Are you willing to leave the picture go eyes on her?
Ignoring Greta Thunberg. What a highlight that is. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Of course, who could forget the wall? Who could forget the wall, ladies and gentlemen? What a highlight this is. This is a statement of intent. This is a statement of intent that us here in Britain should embrace wholeheartedly. We should put a sea wall up. If we can't stop the boats by force with our boats, with our navy, then maybe we should put up a sea wall. We need to insulate ourselves from invasion, and this is what Trump was actually doing here. I can't mind how many miles a wall it is, but look at that glorious, glorious wall, the Trump wall. And this is the story of the day. Everyone reacting to the new dawn of Trump. And just like these two screaming ladies in the bottom, we will cover the screeching, bemoaning leftists, these deranged politicians that just can't help but say, oh, it's terrible, it's absolutely terrible, Trump's going in, this is a dark day for humanity, they all say. A dark day. When in reality, it's a golden age is approaching us, guys. A golden age. We've got 4 more glorious years of Trump. 4 more glorious, glorious years. And my personal favourite highlight, and if you watched the inauguration speech today, if you watched it, there was a couple bits that stood out to me. And Trump, what does he want to be remembered as? What does he want to be remembered as? He wants to be remembered as the peacemaker. He said that himself. He wants to be the peace president, bringing people together, unifying. That's what he said. And let's look at what he done in his first term in office. Something that all American presidents said was impossible to do. You know, Barack Obama, as he was leaving the White House, said to Donald Trump, this will be your biggest problem. And that problem, ladies and gentlemen, was North Korea.
at one of the most militarized borders on Earth. An historic handshake.
Good to see you again. I've never expected to meet you at this place.
A US president, a North Korean leader, and an extraordinary invitation.
If Your Excellency take a step forward, you will be the first US president to cross this line.
And Donald Trump didn't disappoint. Not just stepping, but positively striding into history books, the first sitting American president to meet a leader in the North. The handshake on the other side, political capital for Chairman Kim, ensuring both men had a win to show their people as they boldly recrossed the border.
I believe, just looking at this action, this is an expression of his willingness to eliminate all the unfortunate past and open a new future.
This is my honor. I didn't really expect it. We were in Japan for the G20. We came over and I said, hey, I'm over here. I want to call to Chairman Kim. And we got to meet, and stepping across that line was a great honor. A lot of progress has been made. A lot of friendships have been made, and this has been in particular a great friendship. So I just want to thank you. That was very quick notice, and I want to thank you.
And quick notice it was. A spur-of-the-moment meeting organised by tweet. After a failed summit and stalling relations, a relief no doubt for the waiting South Korean president, the long-suffering political matchmaker in this union. And it seems he wasn't the only one who was nervous.
If he didn't show up, the press was going to make me look very bad. So you made us both look good, and I appreciate it. But we've developed a great relationship. I really think that if you go back 2.5 years and you look at what was going on prior to my becoming president, it was a very, very bad situation, a very dangerous situation for South Korea, for North Korea, for the world.
Despite Donald Trump's claims the danger hasn't passed, North Korea hasn't denuclearized, sanctions continue to bite, and recent short-range missile tests prove Pyongyang is still building its arsenal. But ahead of an election, Mr. Trump can't afford a repeat of Hanoi, so today a notoriously impatient president was taking it slow.
We've agreed that we're each going to designate a team, and the team will try and work out some details. And again, speed is not the object. We want to see if we can do a really comprehensive good deal.
And legitimized by a year of summitry, Kim Jong-un has all the time in the world.
Whether we like it or not, he's going to be the leader of North Korea, possibly.
I think we'll end it there, but I mean, you get the point. And there was a picture of Barack Obama. The closest he ever got to meeting Kim Jong-un was about a mile away looking through binoculars. And once again, just reiterate, Barack Obama told Donald Trump upon leaving the White House that this would be his biggest problem. And let's hope for more of this peacemaking across the world. It's no coincidence that a few days before Donald Trump steps into the White House that we've got a ceasefire in the Middle East. It's no coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. The era of peace may well be upon us. Now, oh, what a glorious day it has been. And I was transfixed to the television today, absolutely transfixed, watching his inauguration ceremony. It was such a joy to behold. And it wasn't just us having the joy. And I've stolen a lot of clips. I've stolen a clip from Alex Jones. I'm sure he won't mind. But let's watch the reaction from a bar in Washington to Trump taking the oath of office.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend. The Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
What a sublime clip. There's just joy flooding out of America now. Everyone seems to be at ease. You know, the era of American decline is now over, and the captain of the West is now back where he belongs, in the White House. You know, and we're going to be going through it, and we're going to be dissecting Trump's inauguration speech bit by bit, and we're going to be comparing it to the UK. But before we do that, let's pick out some of the highlights for me before we go into the speech. But this is, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy that the world has gotten to a certain point, and this woke anti-reality, this ideological position of it's like internalized retardation. And they want to espouse that and corrupt other people with it. But this gender ideology stuff has now reached its end. But it's crazy that this gets to this point, isn't it? Isn't it crazy that we've had to have a president stand up and pronounce this? Well, here we go.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
A standing ovation. A standing ovation. There are only two genders, male and female. Standing ovation. People whooping and hollering in the crowd, in the gallery. And of course, I mean, it wasn't just the two gender thing they were clapping for. They're clapping again the stake being driven into DEI, diversity, inclusion, and equity, or whatever way you want to term it. This push for diversity overall, the meritocracy gets put in the bin for we just need more diverse figures. And by diverse, we all know what that means. It means less white people. That's what it means. So we're at this crucial turning point in humanity. And finally, the grown-ups are back in charge. Finally, the grown-ups are back in charge. Now we're going to get no more DEI. We're not going to get this gender hooey-wooey, this nonsense being sort of permeated throughout our culture and across the West. You know, so we're moving into a new era of common sense, and that was common sense was coined in the speech today. But let's look at another highlight before we go into the full speech.
President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made, and Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
I mean, this is how a leader speaks, ladies and gentlemen. This is how a leader speaks, and he's holding no punches. This is day one. This is hours in, hours. And he's just going after it all. The Gulf of America is the Gulf of Mexico will be renamed the Gulf of America. The Panama Canal is now is it up for debate. Is he going to take it back? Is he going to force China into a deal? Who knows what's going to happen here? But this is how a leader is finally speaking. Right, so let's look at some of the derangement going across the media, and we'll have a particular focus in Scotland, and we'll have a wee look at the Lib Dems as well, because I've noticed that over the last few days, in the run-up to Trump's office, that the Lib Dems, but you'd be forgiven for saying, well, what do the Lib Dems actually stand for? I mean, what do they actually think? Who are the Lib Dems? What are they about? Well, to me, it looks like they're morphing. They are morphing into this anti-Trump party. Even from the UK standpoint, they're morphing into an anti-Trump party right here in the UK. Makes no sense, but the UK does harbour a lot of anti-Trumpers, so maybe they're going for the anti-Trump vote. Who knows? But it looks to me that the Lib Dems have morphed into an anti-Trump party. But let's look closely at some of just the sheer derangement happening here in Scotland. The Scottish Greens. Nobody is above the law, not even the US president, a convicted felon, which was all politically motivated, guys. Anybody that knows anything knows that was all political motivated convictions that were thrown at him. All of it. And it was, even then, he was the first convicted felon. If you want to be technical or whatever. But I mean, it's all these ideological judges that were over the pot, So I mean, to me, he's not a felon. He's not a convicted felon at all. They just wanted this label. They just wanted this label attached to him because they thought it would deter people from voting from him, and it made no difference whatsoever. The American people voted him, and you know what, really? He won all the swing states, and you know what happened? You know what I think happened in 2020 when Biden supposedly won. It was the COVID lockdown, and the story of the day was mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots. And I believe they cheated him out. They cheated him out of a consecutive term. And then he just roared right back into the hot seat. But look at the Scottish Greens. I mean, who are they actually appealing to here? We just heard from someone in the know, really in the know, about the state of Scottish salmon fish farming. And what are the Greens? Are they environmentalists? I don't think so. No, they're ideological zealots. They're communists. They're idiots. They're no users. A convicted felon has just taken office, and the court found that he used assets in Scotland for criminal activity. Greens are demanding an investigation into illegal activity here in Scotland. I'm sure that vote will get passed in Holyrood. What a total farce. Shouldn't the Greens, the Scottish Greens, be focused on Scottish matters? I mean, what the Americans voted in Donald Trump is a huge display of democracy. These guys don't like it. They don't like it one bit. Anyway, what other derangement do we have? This was another thing that Trump promised. It went under the radar. It was absolutely gigantic. And everyone that was a sort of victim of the COVID lockdowns here, they were lost their jobs because they refused to take the jab. Well, Trump just announced he will reinstate all the members of the military that were expelled to the COVID vaccine mandate, and they will receive full back pay. You can't be serious. What an incredible move that is. What an utterly incredible move that is. And that's a statement. And we'll be going into who was pardoned. There was a few pardons that Joe Biden put out right before he left office. Minutes left in office, and he chooses to pardon certain people. And we'll be looking at exactly who he pardoned. But that is gigantic. He's going to reinstate all the members of the military who had the courage to say, no, I won't take the COVID vaccine. and they're going to receive full back pay. What an incredible move. Again, he's in office minutes. Anna Soubry. Trump delusional, divisive, dangerous. Who cares what she thinks? Who cares? Caroline Lucas. What fresh hell is this? Nobody else. And of course, we'll play the video of our own Zimbabwean Scottish person that this she's second in command to the Greens. Who knows? But she's clearly deranged. This is the one that advocates that children as young as 6 should be taking puberty blockers, that should know about a million genders. Of course she's going to hate Trump because she's just ended the fiction that she peddles across Scottish schools to our kids. Of course she's going to be upset because it is a nail in the coffin of this transgender ideology that she is so attached to. It's her very being. And we got to ask why. Why is she so addicted to this trans ideology? Why she is such an advocate? Why? Why is this? So let's watch this lunatic.
Today, I stand in solidarity with all those who have been the target of hate and prejudice by the US president. Women fighting for bodily autonomy and reproductive rights. Immigrants being blamed for economic and social crises they have not caused. LGBTQIA+ people at the center of a vicious culture war. Disabled people being mocked and ridiculed. Trump is not welcome in Scotland. He is a dangerous, fraudulent, misogynistic climate change denier. His politics of hate is not what we need or want.
Well, she speaks exactly for herself and all the ideological zealots that she has managed to get under her banner, like this weird green Pied Piper. And look at the ratio on this. 48 likes, 200 comments. Let's look at some of the comments, guys. Oh, it's just her again, her again. Look at the state of you. Nobody has a clue who you are. Nobody cares. Trump has no idea who you are. Elected by American people, it's their decision to bring back common sense politics. Exactly. Exactly. She has no clue. This is the video that we'll be dissecting later, but I wanted to see if we got some more. This is the pardons. I mean, Cernovich, these pardons he suspects is about the Ukraine biolabs. The same ones that Anthony Fauci was involved in. So look at these. Who's getting a pardon? General Mark Milley. This is who Biden chooses to pardon. Minutes before he leaves office. General Mark Milley. Going back to 2014. Why is it dated back to 2014? Who else did he pardon? Oh, it's Dr. Anthony Fauci. Oh, what a coincidence. What a coincidence. The father, the architect behind this COVID lockdown, the vaccines that's crippled and maimed people right across the world. He gets a full and unconditional pardon all the way back to 2014 again. Interesting that, isn't it? Interesting that minutes before Biden leaves office, he wants to pardon these individuals. And it's not just these individuals he's pardoned. Oh, no, of course it isn't. Who else? Who else did he pardon? Oh, well, he's pardoned his brother. I don't know who. Basically, his whole family. He's pardoned his whole family. I mean, Hunter Biden's not on that list because he's already got a pardon that he said him in the day. All the way back to 2014 again. Why would the US president pardon his whole family unless they were up to something dodgy? A full and unconditional pardon. Thanks, Biden. Thank you. A full and unconditional pardon of his family, most notably his brother James Biden. Ed Davies, what's he saying? Oh, it's the leader of the anti-Trump party. It's the Lib Dems. What's the Lib Dems? Donald Trump returning to the White House will be deeply worrying for for millions of people in the UK and around the world, with a president who promises trade wars, undermines NATO, and praises Vladimir Putin and threats to our national security and our economy clear. Well, actually, I think Keir Starmer poses a greater threat to national security and our economy than Donald Trump ever could. And of course, Donald Trump is trying to play peacemaker here. I don't think it'll be long at all before we see him meeting Vladimir Putin or both Zelensky, Putin, and Trump in a room together. I don't think it'll be long, and we'll see an end to the bloodshed, because nobody else has had the stones to do it. But Trump, we know, has the stones. He strode into North Korea. Strode in. But, you know, let's label the Lib Dems the anti-Trump party from now on. Let's label them the anti-Trump party from now on. What else is happening? Who other deranged people? We'll talk about, I mean, Bonnie Prince Bob, right? Bit of an idiot, granted. But he's trying to mock me here. I said that the far-right rioters have been vindicated. This was the first story we covered today. So apologies to people who are just tuning in, but we covered the Rubicadana Axel, you know, the Southport killer. We covered him. And the fact that, you know, it turned out he's an Islamist. He's got the Al-Qaeda manual. He's known to MI5. He's on the terrorist watch list. But then he's still allowed to commit these crimes. But then the far right, technically, you know, and by huge quotation marks here, the far right rioters have been totally and utterly vindicated by the news. And it's time to call them what they really are now, political prisoners of Keir Starmer's government from hell. And what's he actually trying to say here, Prince Bob? I mean, can any of you viewers decipher what he's trying to say here? What, that we're gammon-eating, Greggs-eating idiots? Is this what he's trying to tell me? I don't know. But he's a bit of an idiot. We'll just say that. Yeah, so I think, of course, we had this Angela Rayner clip. It's from the past when Piers Morgan was still on Good Morning Britain. But here's Maggie Chapman again. We'll read this one. Of course, Maggie Chapman's just went on an absolute bender the day. Trump's politics will never be welcome here. I guarantee you, and I put a gold stamped guarantee, an official Niall Fraser gold stamp guarantee that if Trump was to come here, people would flock to wherever he is. It would be one of the biggest events Scotland's ever had. It would be like, it was the first time I actually seen people lining motorways was when the Queen died. First time I've ever seen just traffic stop and people get out their cars on the motorway was when the Queen died. It'll be the similar type situation when Trump rolls over an Air Force One. Absolutely. And of course, I mean, here she is. Just an absolute idiot here. Right, so that's the derangement. You've seen it. If you've got more, put them in the comments, guys. I've not seen much comments tonight. Again, please get involved. Now, we look at the speech. We look at the speech. I wish I could take it back a bit, 2 seconds. It's a bit annoying, this.
Chief Justice Roberts, justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton,
just so that I'm
President
not
Bush,
invisible.
President Obama.
So the timestamps we're looking
Biden,
for 5 minutes 20.
Start.
And this way we can pause,
recent election.
This way we can pause the speech and we can dissect what he's saying and then compare it to the UK, because this is what we want to accomplish here. We want to find out exactly how we can emulate Trump's magnificence over here in the UK. So let's shoot onward.
Totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over.
Big statement. Big statement. Because, again, America's decline is over. What is he talking about here? What is he going to allude to later in the speech? What is he going to talk about? I'll get this wee banner in so that you can actually see my wee face. I'll bring. See, can I get a wee bigger one? Can I get a bigger one? That's too big. Too small. Anyway, maybe that's better. Right. So what's he alluding to here when he's talking about the decline is over? The same way that the UK is just in permanent decline here. Why is it in permanent decline? Because we've signed up to this ridiculous net zero pledge. That's why we're in decline. And Trump has just ended this Green Deal. He goes on to say it in the speech, but this is what he's alluding to. The decline is over. It's a managed decline. It was a managed decline by Biden and the team. The Biden administration was folding it, America in. It was for sale. Not anymore.
Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
Jesus. Absolutely crazy stuff here. But I believe him. He believes it. I believe it. If his head was just a millimeter away, the thing is, we're talking millimeters away from this moment here. If that assassin had just an inch over, the guy's dead. His head's been blown off, totally dead. But something saved him. Destiny saved him. Destiny's put him in the White House. And to think of all the things that Trump's went through, all the attacks, the endless streams of attack, it's been non-stop since 2016. Since 2016, it's been non-stop. Non-stop. The Mueller investigation, the Russia collusion investigation, the millions spent on that turned out to be total a waste of money, a waste of resource, and it turned out to be a British spy for Cambridge or something like that was feeding disinformation. The assassination attempts. I mean, just the constant negative portrayal of Trump in the media for almost 10 years now. It's been just endless. Just absolutely endless. And for this guy to come through it all, it's 78 years old, ladies and gentlemen. It's nothing short of a miracle. It's nothing short of a miracle that this man is here standing in front of us today, giving us all a show, showing us how it's done, showing us what leadership looks like. Showing us what leadership looks like. We could only dream of having a leader like this, and we're lumped with some washed up Keir Starmer, who's, he's not even a leader. He's not, he's shown how bad he's been. Keir Starmer, we could only dream of having a leader like this who actually cares for us. Keir Starmer doesn't care for us. Keir Starmer doesn't care about Britain. Keir Starmer doesn't care about our opportunities. Keir Starmer doesn't care about the working class. Doesn't care about our kids' futures. No, he cares about himself. We could only dream of having a leader like this here in Britain. And one day we will have one. I'm sure of that. But today is not that day. We'll have to settle for, for Trump being the model across the Western world. And this is why the doom cycle, this cycle of doom that we've been in for ages, it just halted today. It took a big break to stop it, and that break is Donald Trump. So let's look at what else is saying. I believe the next one is 10 minutes. So we'll go to 10 minutes.
Can't do that. Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense.
Where have we heard that before? Oh, is that right? The Scottish Tories, of all people, are doing a let's return to common sense model, this campaign of common sense from the Scottish Tories. Are you serious? Are you having a laugh, Russell Finlay? Are you having a laugh? A return, a revolution of common sense. Thank God for Trump. And let's look at what else he's saying.
First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
What should our leader be doing? He should be declaring a national emergency in the Channel. He should have declared a national, anyone with any sense should have declared a national emergency in the Channel. We can't have people, endless amount of people coming across on dinghies. It's the same, it's the exact same as people crossing the American border. Exactly the same. And there's no difference between crossing a body of water and just crossing it. I mean, they're both illegal crossings. And we should have an emergency in our Channel. It's time for it, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for it. Donald Trump is showing us the way here, and he's holding no punches. Look, Biden's there, Kamala's there, all the leftists are there that wanted him dead. Just a sea of people are rising to their feet because they know it's what's necessary. They know that he's going to do it. They know he's got what it takes to accomplish it. Just a sea of people just rising to their feet and saying, thank God, someone's saying it.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my...
Why did that not get a round of applause? Let's go back a bit.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
Standing ovation. Standing ovation. What he's talking about here is what everyone wants, and that is mass deportations in the millions. In the millions. Millions and millions, he's saying, because the same thing's happened in the UK. The exact same thing has happened in the UK. And we must have the courage of our own convictions, the courage in ourselves to say, no, these people don't belong here. They need to be taken back to where they belong, which is not the UK, which is not Britain. They don't deserve to be here. They came here illegally. Of course, they don't deserve to be here. But this is what he's talking about. He's talking about millions and millions and millions of deportations. It's incredible. Why no standing ovation? Why no? And we've got another comment in. See, I'll put up, we've only had 2 comments on the show. What a shocking show of interaction here tonight. Evening all. Thank you very much for the comment, Scorpion. Get involved on Twitter. Get involved on YouTube. But this is, again, let's go back to it. Let's listen to it just one more time.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
This is exactly what the UK needs. And the thing is, this paradigm, what America is facing right now, is what the entirety of Europe is facing. An invasion. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to just brand it as it is. It's an invasion force. And they need to be deported en masse in the millions in order to save our society, in order to save our culture. They need to be deported in the millions. And this will echo around Europe. I can hear it echoing around Europe because everyone, it's music to everyone's ears. That the most powerful man in the world is saying it is just going to lay credence to what we've all been talking about, the new remigration. We need mass deportations here. Right, let's move on because there's more stuff. There's more.
We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy.
I mean, this is just common sense as well. I mean, it's a bit different with Europe because people are coming up from sub-Saharan Africa, from Middle East, from wherever it is. They're traveling through Europe to get to Cali. So we can't say remain in Cali. But we should be telling the French that if they get past your border and they get to Cali, they're not coming to us. We should be telling Macron, you can take them back. They're not coming to us. End of. And if you try to come to us, we'll send the boat in. We'll send the Navy in and send them back. They are not reaching our shores. That's what our leaders should be saying. They're not reaching up. Under no circumstance should any of these boats reach our shores. No circumstance whatsoever. They should remain. Like, it's a bit, the comparison's a bit funky between, remain in Mexico. But we need something similar here. They can't come. They're never, go back to France. And the French can deal with them because they've allowed it to happen to their country as well. They need to wisen up.
I will end the practice of catch and release.
I'll just unpause there for the smattering of applause. But we've got a worse version of catch release here in Britain. We've got a worse version of catch and release. And in America, they'll catch these illegal aliens and they'll just release them into different cities, wherever they're releasing to. And then they'll say to them, there's your court date. And it's in 4 years' time. Or it's in 5 years' time, and you're like, how is this going to solve anything? And what happens? Inevitably. What happens inevitably? They don't show up to the court hearing because they're here illegally. It's such a stupid policy, it makes the mind boggle. But this is what the Biden administration have done. They've allowed it to happen. They've facilitated this huge influx of people in America. And they've facilitated, with huge migrant columns arriving in countries, what inevitably happens? They're trafficking children as well. We talked about that on the last show as well. It enables the child trafficking. The Biden administration stopped the DNA checking of migrants bringing children into America. They stopped it. The Trump administration, they were checking to see, are these people actually their parents? The Biden administration put an end to that and enabled child traffickers to get across the border, to get away with their crimes, to traffic these children. We've got a worse version of catching noise here in Britain. A worse version, because we're not just releasing them, but we collect them from the boat, we put them up in hotels, we give them benefits, we give them everything, and we give them room and board, and we put them in towns and villages all across the UK. And what happens? Crime spirals out of control. You know, you end up with situations where these people are going to schools. They're hanging about outside the school gates, looking to groom children. This is what happens. And we're paying for it all. We are paying for it all. It's not just catch and release. It's catch and pay, house, feed, water. It gets worse and worse. See, catch and release, we would prefer that, because at least them are not paying for it. We've got a worse version here in the UK. Way worse.
And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country.
Troops to the border to repel the invasion. Oh, how isn't it glorious just to hear what a leader actually sounds like? Isn't it glorious? Keir Starmer would never, in a month of Sundays, say such a thing, because his puppeteers wouldn't allow him to. And we're just going to keep going with this. There's a lot of stuff. This is very dense, ladies and gentlemen. About half an hour. I mean, generally I go for an hour. We're already 36 minutes in the next hour. We're just going to keep rolling. We're almost 900 viewers, guys. Thank you so much. Please do share the broadcast. And if you can, subscribe to YouTube. But we're just going to keep rolling with this.
Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
Right. Another one that is applicable to the UK. Another version. What is our version of the cartels? What is our version of the cartels? Well, in my mind, it's these grooming gangs. We should be designating them cultural terrorists. We should be designating grooming gangs terrorists. And why is he designating them terrorists in the first place? The cartels. He's designating them terrorists because it allows them to go after them with such brutality, such force. It allows, it allows more funding to go after them. We need a specialized unit to designate grooming gangs, the people that are involved in them, the people who facilitated it. Do you think grooming's the only thing they're doing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We need them designated to be terrorists, one way, shape, or form, so we can get rid of them. That's what we need. Because we've got the exact same situation with gangs here in the UK. Exact same. And we need to have a special designation. It's not enough for Keir Starmer to say we're going to smash the gangs. We're going to smash the gangs. And to this day, they've arrested one guy who was selling boats. I mean, it's absolutely farcical. This Labour government couldn't get in the bin any quicker.
And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities.
Right. I mean, this is too easy a comparison to make. Look at London. Look at London. You know, in fact, let's take a break for this now. And while we're talking about demolishing, we'll come back to Trump. Don't worry about it. Let's look at London, because we've got the video for the other day. Let's look, and you think we need to smash gangs? We need to end the rampant crimes in our inner cities and inner cities. Let's look at what's happening in London.
Only just begun, and already we've seen at least 9 major stabbing incidents on our streets. On the 1st of January, 25-year-old man stabbed on Oxford Street. 5th of January, double stabbing on Kilburn High Road. 6th of January, 18-year-old man stabbed on Prince Imperial Road. 7th of January, we know the tragic murder of Kellyanne Bokassa, stabbed in broad daylight on a bus. Also, 7th of January, reports of stabbing in Mile End. 11th of January, stabbing and 2 shootings in Homerton. 13th of January, father of 2, Gregory Castillo Volquez, stabbed to death in Haringey. And on the 14th of January, stabbing outside City and Islington College and also on Ilford High Road. My team has been working on a budget amendment where we would like to fund almost 1,000 police officers to deliver a targeted knife crime task force. And the way we do this is reduce the cost of your staff budget back to 2016 levels. That will give us the funding to do this. Now, obviously, I can't table that as a budget amendment on my own. I need support from other groups. Would you encourage members of other groups, perhaps your own group in the Labour Party, perhaps the Conservatives, perhaps anybody, to second that amendment so that it can be discussed and debated in full next week at the budget meeting?
As a rule of thumb, I never encourage anyone to work with reform.
So that's a clear no. So
total swine. Total swine. Sadiq Khan. See, after all this is said and done, when London gets liberated from this despot tyrant, Sadiq Khan, I mean, this reform guy, you know, it's not too dissimilar from what Trump is actually saying there. We need a designated task force to smash the gangs, to end this unholy spree of crime. That it's not just London either, but London's the easiest example to use. Look at Manchester, Birmingham. Like, it's rampant. Like, I mean, let's pick up another one. I've got some more videos in the bank. Look. This is a seaside resort. This is at Southend. We've got machete fights in broad daylight outside children's theme parks, children's rides. Families are there. There'll be people pushing buggies. There'll be people having their toddlers in their hands. And there's machete fights going on. We can't live like this. We can't live like this. We can't. And I think that's when we go back to Trump. And we'll go back a few seconds.
In criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and...
A wee bit more. Sorry, guys.
1798, I will direct...
Wait, just a bit longer. Bear with me, guys. Bear with me.
And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities.
You see how far He has to go back in time in order to get that. What was it, 1798? Is that really what he said there? 1798.
And by invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798.
1798, ladies and gentlemen. More than 200 years ago, he's invoking. They had the same crimes back then. We're going in a vicious cycle. We need something similar here in the UK. That is for certain. Right, so, I mean, we've covered the fact that it's a revolutionary common sense. We need millions upon millions of people deported from the UK. Catch and release. Trump's ended catch and release America. What a farcical policy that was in the beginning. It was so ridiculous. You know, an illegal alien comes into your country. You say, there you go, on your bike. Come back to court in 4 years. Just ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. He wants to repel invaders from the southern border with troops, with force. He's wanting to designate cartels as terrorist groups. And he wants to end the foreign gangs. Does that sound similar to you? Does that seem at all applicable with the UK and Europe as a whole? Absolutely. We're at such an end, you know, a pandemic of gangs, a pandemic of violence, a pandemic of just societal decline here. That's what we've got, and this man is bringing America back from the brink. Back from the brink. Now let's watch on, and we'll see if we can find any more comparisons with the UK.
I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks, bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before.
Before we move on, again, Trump is just reiterating something that we all know in our heart of hearts the leader of a country should be doing. The first instinct is first responsibility. The number one thing that the leader of a country should be doing is protecting its citizens. Number one. Numero uno. That's the first thing that he should be doing. Keir Starmer doesn't have the same priorities as us. He doesn't want to keep us safe. Doesn't he want to maintain our safety? And in fact, it plays more into the division by bringing more migrants in. He doesn't think that the first priority of a leader is to protect its own citizens. Not in the UK. And thank God Trump actually knows what his responsibility is. This huge burden of responsibility that he is now in charge of. It's incredible.
Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices.
That's another thing that's on the tip of everyone's tongue. Even if it isn't on the tip of their tongue, it's affecting them. The working class is getting absolutely demolished here in the UK. Even the middle class, but the middle class is shrinking. Why? Because the price of everything's skyrocketing. The inflation is it's not that the prices are increasing. It's the fact that your pound is getting worth less and less. It buys less. The buying power of your £10 note is diminishing day by day. week by week. And when you listen to these economists that go on the news, oh yeah, inflation's fallen to 2.5%. That just means that the acceleration of your money buying power decreasing is fallen to 2.5%. That's all they're saying. And you know, inflation's fallen to 2.5%, as if it's something to commend. It's ridiculous. The state of our economy here in Britain is absolutely farcical.
The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a...
I would add that the inflation caused is not only massive government overspending, but also the lockdowns that were imposed on us and the massive amount of money printing that went on in the Bank of England. The huge, unbelievable sums of money that they printed. Unbelievable sums.
A national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Another rapturous applause at drill, baby, drill. What is he saying here? He's saying the net zero scam is over. The environmental scam is over. He's saying, let's drill, let's get the oil out from under us instead of buying it in. You know, the way net zero works, it's setting up customers. Certain economies are supposed to be customers to these new countries that are, they just disregard this net zero stuff, the environmental stuff. They disregard it. Of course they are, because they're not willing to participate in economic suicide, which is what net zero is.
America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it.
So we should.
We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers.
Again, another huge applause, because again, it's the striking down of this arbitrary business halting, business stifling, ridiculous mandate that manufacturers have to make a certain amount of vehicles electric. It's harming business. It's harming business. How many car manufacturers in Britain can't compete? They can't. They went out of business because nobody's buying electric vehicles in the numbers that they require. And yet they're mandating a certain percentage of vehicles be manufactured that are electric. So you think this is just, it's a death strike to these businesses. It's a death strike. Again, you know what I mean? It's just, he's turning the tap off. He's unrestricting the automobile industry once again. And that's all that he's doing. No limits.
In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
What a novel idea.
For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore competence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency.
The famed Elon Musk Doge, Department of Government Efficiency. But let's take a wee step back there. Trump, not only is he protecting the safety of United States citizens, he knows that that's his primary and his primary responsibility as President of the United States is to protect his citizens from harm. That harm extends to economic harm. They're not going to get they're not going to get their country flooded with foreign markets and reduce everything American built to nothing. He doesn't want America to become a consumer economy, which the UK is already a consumer economy. Everything's bought in, everything's drop shipped, everything's made in China. He's protecting, not only is he protecting just the general safety of US citizens as his primary sole concern, but he's protecting their economic interests as well. And at this Department of Government Efficiency, we need an exact same, a replica of that in Britain, to go after all the quangos, all the special advisors, all this useless spend that happens in government. And God knows they spend too much on nonsense.
After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
Something that Keir Starmer in the UK can't afford to do. They can't afford to do it. They need to censor here in the UK. They need to censor because otherwise somebody might draw a cartoon and they might end up getting threats. This is a thing. They need to censor it to control the narrative. And with Elon Musk, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, this has allowed free speech to reign again. Even though in the UK it has quite bad consequences, because if you say something that falls foul of, say, Labour and Keir Starmer, you might be labelled far right. You might end up with a police visit at the door. The censorship needs to end. And Trump is leading the way again.
Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. Something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities.
And here, I believe,
This
we're
week,
going on
I will
to the
also
main part
end
where
the
we'll be
government
ending.
policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life.
Here we go.
We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Standing ovation. Right. And that takes us full circle. Of course, you're very welcome to watch the end of his speech. It was scintillating. Absolutely sublime. Trump is hitting everybody on just exactly where it needs to hit. So let's go back and sort of dissect what we're talking about here. The United States is officially the two-gender club. It's the two-gender club. And the UK should join it. It wasn't too long ago. First of all, let's remove this. Listen to our First Minister here in Scotland. How many genders are there, John? Full on, John. Full on, John, how many genders are there?
First Minister, how many genders are there?
Well, I think there'll be quite a debate about that, Nikki. I think there are,
quite a debate about that, Nikki. I think there's quite a debate about that, Nikki. Do you see the difference in what an actual leader looks like? Are you starting to see the two-gender club? John Swinney's not in it. John Swinney's signed Scotland and Scotland's children and Scottish schools up for this gender nonsense. Full on John. Full-blown John. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, almost 1,000 viewers tonight, guys. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. It's been a mammoth show. I've went almost an entire hour over time, but it's an historic day, isn't it? So we had to push the boat out. So once again, thanks everyone for tuning in. You've been watching the Niall Fraser Show. Let's sort of recap what we talked about. We talked about justice delayed is justice denied. Ricky Jones of the Labour Party. His court date's been pushed to August. Let's look at what he said. If I've still got the video. No, I don't have the video. Anyway, Ricky Jones says, oh, but we do have the video.
They hurt. We've got children and women using those trains to doing the summer holidays. They are disgusting, nasty bastards. And we need to cut their throats and get rid of them all.
Take that. And you say that elsewhere in the political spectrum, and you end up with the police at the door, you end up with a fast-track conviction, and you'll be in jail next week. But not our Labour Ricky Jones. No. It's already been delayed. And today we get another delay until August. Justice delayed is justice denied. So we talked about that. We talked about Axel Rabukanana, the quiet Welsh schoolboy. Also just turns out that his dad's involved in the Rwandan genocide and he had an obsession with death and he wanted to shoot up a school. He was known to MI5, he was known to all the police, he was known to the politicians, he was known to everyone, and yet he was allowed to perpetrate this act in Southport. And then Keir Starmer comes down on all the people who came out in righteous fury against it and against this destruction of your society. We had the fishy situation in Scotland. And I encourage everyone to go back and listen to the segment I done with Dom Staniford, because he was very enlightening about the fact that you shouldn't be even, you should avoid eating salmon at all. You should avoid eating salmon at all, especially if it's, what was it, Salmonis domesticus? You know, the Latin name for domesticated farmed salmon. It's an industry that needs to be halted, stopped. Scotland's getting hit twice. We're taking the environmental impact, we're taking the destruction of our rivers and lochs, and the ecosystem that comes along with that, and we're not getting any of the profits, any of the compensation for doing this to ourselves, for wrecking our scenery, wrecking our own homeland, and we're seeing no benefit. We're seeing double no benefit. We're not making any money, and we're taking the environmental impact. And the Greens, the Scottish Greens, don't want to know about it. So I encourage you to go back and watch that segment, because it's very, very enlightening. And of course, it was the second era, the second dawn of Trump. We looked at the derangement, the sheer utter derangement in the politicians here in the UK and in Scotland. The sheer derangement. The dawn of Trump, the second dawn of Trump is here. And we went through the speech bit by bit, and we compared it to the UK. We've seen what a leader looks like in the US, and now it's time for a leader in the UK to rise up and be inspired by Trump, be the model for Trump in the United Kingdom. Is Farage that man? Is Farage that man? Only time will tell. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please do like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm. Just if you want to see more, the best place to get me is on X. If you did want to support me, you can do at the link coffee. You can keep me caffeinated if you so desire. It has been a long one tonight, and I did go through a coffee from my Trump mug, so I need more beans. But other than that, you've been watching Niall Fraser Show. Thank you so much for watching. We're back on Wednesday. We'll go Monday, Wednesday, Friday now. There's no halting us, and we're just going to keep going. And there's more stories to talk about on Wednesday. Eventually, we've got a few key interviews lined up, and I'm sure we'll get more as time goes on. But once again, thank you for joining the Niall Fraser Show, and it's time for the intro music, guys. Thank you and good night.